Thank you so much for joining Sharebird's The Essential Go-to-Market Show, tips and strategies, where we offer short video content and interview-style conversations with global product marketing leaders. I'm your host, Yasmeen Turayhi. Now, whether you're an early-stage startup or a public company, almost everyone struggles with the same question. What does it take to have a successful product launch? Today, I'll be talking to Cat Origitano. She's the Director of Solutions Product Marketing of Fivetran, and Fivetran's mission is to make access to data as simple and reliable as electricity. We'll obviously talk a little bit more about Fivetran in this conversation. So welcome to the show, Cat.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure. And what a great topic to talk about.
Yes, it's a topic that so many people, I think, have a lot of confusion around, and everyone is launching, whether it's a product or service, all the time, right? So it's definitely important. So, Kat, can you tell us right off the bat, what are some of the top takeaways that you've learned in your career about launching a product in market?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the top things that I've learned and I take with me to any product launch that I do or my team does, I say, first of all, is that you shouldn't just stop at the launch. I think that's been very early in my career. One of the places that I recognized I needed to improve on is that I was very focused on the launch as the end point. And now that that thing was out in market, I was like, all right, work's all done. And really already as you're working through it, making sure that you bring in post-launch items immediately, but then continuing with things like postmortems to make sure you're understanding how functionally that launch went, but then also that customer feedback, and just acknowledging that whenever you bring something out into market, you're always going to be working on it. And so there isn't this idea of you being done with that launch. The other really big one is the importance, and I know this is a little cliche, but it's true, so it's a takeaway. It's the importance of bringing in as many people as makes sense for that cross-team collaboration. Anytime you bring, especially a large product or feature to market, there are so many people in your company that are going to be touched by that need to be trained on it or understand that it's happening. And so bringing in subject matter experts from each of those teams in as early as possible helps not only distribute all of that work to people who are excited and want to do it, but it also makes more people to be the teachers of everyone else. And so I think those are the two really big things, is not to limit your launch team to, just you and your product manager, but really be collaborative, and then make sure that you know that the launch is not the end. In some ways, it's just the beginning of that product.
Yeah, that's so powerful. And I think that a lot of people make this mistake time and time again. They all move towards some particular goal. And then once that goal is quote unquote complete, people oftentimes forget about retention, they forget about
Yeah,
upsell. And so it's just like monitoring that launch is something that
right.
a product marketer needs to do. And so I really appreciate that. Kat, what about team structure? How has team structure been helpful to launching a product in market?
Yeah, great question. So I described that need for cross collaboration. And while we do that at Fivetran when it comes to product launches, we also kind of always operate in that way. So my team in particular, we create little pods formed around solutions. So we have one product manager, one product marketer, and one technical success manager. So those three will focus on what we call solutions. So for Fivetran, we are an automated data pipeline. And so we help pull data out of tools and systems and platforms and put it into a data warehouse. So people use that service for a lot of different things. They might use that in order to do their marketing analytics, their sales analytics, their finance analytics. So we have these pods set up around that business use case, and their job is to understand from top to bottom how that works, who our competitors are in that specific niche area, what particular challenges do people have or they're trying to solve either individually as a data engineer or for their business. And we set them up as mini GMs or general managers. They decide what they work on. They put together a roadmap every quarter. They present it to us, advocating why they should do this. And every month we have a checkout and we say, check in rather, and we say, how are you hitting your growth numbers? How are you on track to that? What are you doing next? And setting that up in that way where the three individuals with different backgrounds, but ultimately lots of expertise and knowledge of our customers allows them the autonomy and flexibility to go nuts and figure out what's going to work. And and they work in unison. I've heard people doing things like this, but I've never seen it in action. And it's a really, really cool way to do things and run things long term.
That's great. Yeah. I think that this pod team structure is something I've seen honestly very infrequently. I don't think a lot of
Yeah.
companies do that, which is so surprising. We did it at one of my companies that I worked with, and it was really powerful because we were able to collectively react to something that happened to the product rather than have product marketing own, let's say 3 or 4 of the product suites and be in kind of like a reactive mode when things go wrong. And then I think also what I've noticed is that product marketing oftentimes gets moved out of the technical conversations.
Yes.
And so having like the technical team with the product marketing team means that you're bringing everything together. And it's really,
Yeah.
really important. So I love that you guys are doing that.
That's
Amazing.
a great point. Yeah, and that might be the case because Fivetran is a technical tool or solution. That might be why it would work best for us or is working well for us. I think that's an interesting point. But I think you're right. And I think that's problematic when we get moved out of those technical conversations, especially if our job is to communicate the value to customers and customers are technical and we can't speak that same language. I think that can come across. And it's definitely not to say like our product managers are more technical than our product marketing managers, but we are technical in different ways. And I think that's what's really important is recognizing that the skills that product marketers have are just as important in growing a business and growing a solution as what we refer to commonly as technical skills.
Yeah. I love that you
Don't
guys
get me
have
started. I'll
that.
get, yeah. I'll get on a soapbox about that. Yeah.
So Kat, what is the thing that has surprised you the most as a product marketer in your tenure?
That's a great question. I would say, okay, I'll give it like a little personal. One is how much I enjoy it. I mean that because I don't have a marketing background per se. I was actually an academic and I have a PhD, and I was like, this is what I want to be when I grow up. And I didn't realize how much I enjoy product marketing, where you have that creative aspect of like writing and literally creating things. How do I visualize this? How do I explain this with that technical aspect of really trying to understand what problems your customers are trying to solve and the industry and all of that? And so for me personally, the biggest surprise was how much I enjoy this as a career. And then I would say like more kind of holistically, the things that kind of have surprised me as a product marketer is how different the role is at different companies and even different stages of the same company. I've done product marketing where I was actually far more like a product manager than I was a PMM. And then I've done PMM roles where you're just far more a content creator, to be honest, than you are anything else. And so I think it's finding out what kind of product marketing you like to do and flexing in different ways and finding a company that thinks of product marketing the way you want to do it. I don't think there's a wrong way. There's just different ways. And so those have been my two biggest surprises. What about you? Can I ask you, what surprises you the most?
That's a great question. I love that you asked me. I think the thing that surprised me the most, so I've had a very atypical background as a product marketer. I worked in-house and then I decided to start my own consulting company about 4 years
Amazing.
ago. And so I've had maybe 25 to 30 different clients, some, small, some larger, some year-long, some 3 months, 1 month. And so I think the thing that has surprised me the most is like the lack of understanding about how to really set the structure of the role for success. I think that a lot of companies make the mistake of telling product marketing what they want from a product marketer rather than really relying on the product marketing team or the product marketing leader to create a strategy with the cross-functional stakeholders to really develop a thoughtful approach to what kind of marketing assets we want per parts of the funnel and what does the company want to accomplish? What are their long-term goals? And I think that so many product marketers are underutilized when it comes to that piece of the puzzle, is really being like an executive, a counterpart, someone like a partner that they could really talk to about what their long-term goals are, rather than just assuming that they're just going to be creating marketing assets or they're just going to be packaging products. I think that that's just a small piece of the role. So I love consulting because I get to work really closely with CEOs and executive teams and really talk to them about not just the product marketing deliverables, but also the strategy and creating the structure and really the infrastructure of the role. So that's been the biggest surprise for me.
I love that. No, that's great. I think that, we're in two sides of a similar coin that, what the role is really depends on who's leading it, what the business thinks about it, all that kind of good stuff. So absolutely lots of places for us to educate and have those conversations. I love that.
Yeah, I also created this slide to explain just that point. It's like
Yeah,
different product marketers based on different parts of the growth cycle within a startup. So it could be a very different role if you're, an early stage company or if you're a public
right.
company. So yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Kat, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah,
So
thank
lovely
you.
to connect with you and also to meet you. So thank you.
Same. I really appreciate it.
And where can people find you, Kat?
On LinkedIn, I use LinkedIn a lot. And then you can find me all over Fivetran content. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions on LinkedIn or at fivetran.com.
Okay, wonderful. And we'll include that all in the show notes. And you can stay tuned for upcoming shows with product marketing leaders from startups to public companies as they share some of their best tips and strategies on the go-to-market process. And send us a note. Tell us what you learned and tag us, tag Kat in this conversation, tag Fivetran. And for those of you who are looking for more material on go-to-market, you can also check out my book, Product Marketing Debunked, on Amazon or one of my many articles on Medium. And if you're serious about go-to-market, I offer both recorded and online go-to-market classes. Thanks again.